The city of Mildura is Victoria's sixth largest city, a population of well over 55,000 people. Unfortunately, in spite of its size and growth, it doesn't even have a passenger train service linking it with other cities across Victoria. By the time services had ceased operating between Melbourne and Mildura, the Vinelander was the only regular passenger train to and from Mildura. In today's video, we explore the history and beginnings and the end of the Vinelander train. The Vinelander made its first run on the 9th of August 1972 after intense local lobbying for an upgrade of the existing overnight service. The name was the winner of a competition held by the Victorian Railways. As of November 28th of that year, the 94 total return trips had included 22 late arrivals in Melbourne and 18 late arrivals in Mildura. Of those 40 late arrival incidents, 25 were less than 10 minutes. On the 18th of March 1974, the Melbourne-bound Vinelander was updated to operate via Bacchus Marsh instead of via North Geelong, with a new arrival time of 7:45 a.m. at Spencer Street. Air-conditioned sleeping cars formerly employed on the overland were used, along with older wooden-bodied carriages. A buffet car and bar was added to the train from 18th of July 1977, but drunken behaviour became a problem, requiring the removal of offending passengers at intermediate stations. The typical timetable of the 1970s had a Melbourne departure at 21:20 and an arrival into Mildura at 8:05. In 1984, a V-Line coach service between Melbourne and Mildura commenced operations. A day train, the Sunraysia, was introduced in 1987 but was withdrawn in 1990. However, by November 1986, the Vinelander was only operating 2 nights a week, with the Sunraysia daylight service running as a replacement on other days of the week. The price of the sleeping car service also rose. From $17 per berth in 1985, it increased to $30 per berth by July 1986. Staff levels were reduced on the train, with one conductor managing 2 carriages. The last Vinelander train ran on the 12th of September 1993, with government policies closing down nearly half of all passenger trains in Victoria. And although a service review as part of the Linking Victoria program was announced by the incoming Bracks government in 2000, the Vinelander service never returned to operating, and since its closure, the Mildura line has only been operational for freight trains only. After the Vinelander ceased operating, V-Line continued to operate freight services on the Mildura line, but these days these freight services are operated by Pacific National. The Vinelander ceasing operations occurred under controversial circumstances. 2 days before the service was due to be axed, intending passengers were on the platform at Spencer Street Station, ready to board the train to Mildura, when it was announced that it had been cancelled due to a landslide along the track. Despite the very short notice of the cancellation, buses were conveniently available as an alternative. Suspicions about the supposed landslide story were aroused when it was noted that it hadn't blocked the Melbourne-bound Vinelander that same evening. A leaked document from the train controllers working that evening also aroused suspicion, and an investigation revealed that the story about the landslide was a hoax. To this day, it is widely believed that the sudden cancellation of the final Vinelander service was done to avoid protests planned for the officially announced withdrawal of the service a couple days later. V-Line would retire the air-conditioned sleeping cars formerly used on the Vinelander. However, they were later sold off to heritage operators, and in recent years have been repainted back into the Overland maroon red livery. Only one of these carriages, that being carriage SJ283, which is now under ownership of Steamrail Victoria, is still in the V-Line tangerine orange livery. However, it's in very rough shape and hasn't seen service in many years. Some of V-Line's economy class carriages that ran on the Vinelander, which were a mix of S and Z carriages, would also be sold off to private operator West Coast Railway for running on the Warrnambool line. However, they returned back to V-Line in 2004 after West Coast Railway ceased operating. V-Line's S and Z cars that were not transferred to West Coast Railway would be repainted into V-Line's new passenger livery starting from January 1995. However, the last of the S-type carriages were withdrawn in 2010 in favour of the introduction of new Velocity diesel trains. The days of the Vinelander are well and truly over. However, you can still travel between Melbourne and Mildura via public transport. From Southern Cross Station, you can catch a V-Line train to either Bendigo or Swan Hill to change for a V-Line coach to Mildura. V-Line trains to Swan Hill depart twice a day from Southern Cross Station. It's quite a long journey from Melbourne's Southern Cross Station to Mildura in this format, taking roughly 8 hours, but at least that's 2 hours 40 minutes faster than the Vinelander. For this trip, you will need a V-Line paper ticket, which will cost you money if you're over 18, however you can travel with it free of charge if you're under 18.